Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to this walkthrough and first impressions of the Modern Witch Tarot deck by Lisa Sturl. This is a Liminal 11 publishing deck. Liminal 11 is a newer publishing company and they have been putting out some just really exciting, unique, fantastic things into our tarot world. And I just want to thank the team at Liminal 11 for sending me this deck for review. I'm actually really excited about this and I have to give them full props because I mentioned that I anti-hauled this deck. If I remember, I will link in the cards or in the description box or both the anti-haul where I spoke about why I anti-hauled this deck. But to save you a little time, I'm also going to share with you that the main reason I ended up anti-hauling, as in deciding I wasn't going to purchase this deck, is because I had also backed the This Might Hurt Tarot by Isabella Rotman. And I just felt like these decks would fit a very similar niche in my collection. But you guys, I have to admit, they do have a very different feel. So I am going to do a little bit of comparing with This Might Hurt near the end of this video because I want to share more about my thoughts on that. But first, I want to dive in card by card to this deck. So let's talk first, though, about the packaging. So this is one thing I have to say, I'm not the biggest fan of decks that have this thing that slides out because as soon as I pick up the deck, the bottom part wants to slide out. Like, I love this packaging as a feel. I think it's really cool to be able to pull this out and just have your deck like that. I think it's very well protected, but it bugs me that it slides out, because if you put this on a shelf and then you go to pull it out, it slides out. Or if, like me, you like to keep your decks in their boxes in a bag, then when you pull it out of the bag, you might just pull the lid out, which is a similar issue for me. So not the biggest fan of that style of packaging, but again, it's really beautifully designed. So, oh my gosh, and I'm actually really excited about this, and I'm excited about things that I didn't think I was going to be excited about. And just for full disclosure, I have totally peaked already at this deck. I've been doing that more and more lately, so sometimes you're getting my true first impressions, but a lot of times I'm just finding myself wanting those first few moments with the deck to just be mine. I don't spend a lot of time, but I like to get a feel for the card stock or like a general feel for the deck. And I have to say, I'm actually really surprised how much I like this card stock, because in a lot of ways I shouldn't. And I'll tell you why. But this is it's quite a thick deck. Now, I don't mind that. I really enjoy a sturdy, thick cardstock. Like, this definitely has some flex and some give to it, but it is a thicker, stiffer cardstock. I want to say it might even be 400 GSM. I don't think it's going to tell me on the box. I don't know why I always look at the box thinking it's going to tell me cardstock statistics. It never does. I don't know why I think that. But it feels like, I mean, it's at least 350, and the gloss just makes it feel even more durable. I really love also, I hate that it's reflective. That's one thing I don't love, but I love the way that the colors in the deck pop when there's gloss. So you can see the backs. They're really pretty. They're like this sort of seafoam blue-green, very similar color to what you see here on the little guidebook, which, come on, it's a little mini hardback little white book. Like, how cute is that? We'll look at that in a little more detail after we've looked at all the cards. But yeah, so just to give you an idea, actually we'll shuffle it at the end because I don't want to mess up the order of the cards. But we are going to dive into this deck. Now, this is, I think, very much intended to be a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, but there are some really fun ways that it differentiates. So we're going to be talking about those as we dive through all of the cards. So let me get zoomed in here and we'll get started. So one thing I noticed right off the bat with a quick flip through of these cards is that this is a very female or femme-centric deck. It does feel like there is a big lacking in male or more masculine representation in this deck. So that's something to be aware of going in. And I actually thought that would be an immediate deal breaker because, as you guys know, because I've talked about it a lot on my channel, I like me some boys in my deck. I like boys. I mean, I don't want to date boys, but I like boys. So I really enjoy when there's more of that balance, or if there's not going to be balance between like female and male specifically, to have a lot more gender ambiguity. So we'll see as we go through these cards. But I have to say, as a femme-identified female-bodied person, I really feel like this deck does give me that empowering vibe. How it feels as we go through the cards in more depth may affect how quick I am to reach for this for client readings, depending on who my client is. But I have to say, I feel like initially it feels super relatable. And again, I don't know if that's because I'm just coming at it from my own perspective or not. So if you are looking for more of that sort of gender balance, I'd be super curious to hear as we go through the cards. Maybe leave me a comment down below what you think of that balance feel for you. Like, how does that read for you? Because I don't know. I feel like it could be more flexible than I initially thought. So let's flip through. We have the Fool card here. Obviously very female here. I love that what's happening in this card is there's a cityscape in the background and she's just like traipsing along, la la la, and she's got her headphones in and her smartphone is on. And this is just she's carrying a backpack as opposed to a stick with a satchel. It's so clever because it's super modern and she obviously can't even hear the warnings of her little canine friend. So classic and this is maybe what I mean when I say this deck feels very modern and relatable. That's one of the things, is just how the cards are depicted. I adore this Magician card, and obviously this is also what we see on the box as well. I just think this is a really cool looking card and beautifully designed. Instead of a table, she has a sort of rock cliff, so she's really making use of what is around her in a practical way. You can see that happening in real time because instead of, getting a table, she's actually using a table built into the landscape, which is super cool, I think. I adore that our High Priestess has a laptop. I mean, like, if you're going to talk about, like, where we keep our secrets these days, like, hello, our computer, our laptop, for sure. But all the symbology we need is there. The crescent moon, the pomegranate, like, veil in the background, our two pillars, everything is here that needs to be here. The triple moon on her headpiece there. It's very classic Rider-Waite-Smith, but with this very cool, modern, relatable twist. Empress, she is seriously the mistress of her domain. Like, she feels like she's in charge. I love the crystals in the landscape in the background. And interesting to me because it was actually, a lot of times I forget that traditionally the Empress's gown has pomegranates on it. And here it literally looks like lemons. I don't know what that's about. That's really interesting to me. It feels like it probably is supposed to mean something, or it could just be an artistic choice. But that's interesting to me. Everything else, like the things I immediately sort of look at cards like this for, I feel like everything is there for me. I don't think that would interfere with my reading. So here we do get, I feel like, some gender ambiguity here. This looks like a female figure perhaps, but one with a more masculine energy, or perhaps this is somebody who is gender neutral or non-binary. And I think that's really cool. I like that the Emperor card here is still very much in control of their domain, and we feel like there's a city in the background. So again, very relatable. The throne is still very solid, and it looks like it's made out of stone or even out of glass or something like that, or crystal, which is really interesting. Hierophant. And I think this is one of the cards where I really noticed the lack of sort of male representation. I feel like we have perhaps a gender neutral figure even here. It could be a male, but I don't know. And then we have another figure over here. We have the crossed keys. This is very classic depiction of the Hierophant, but we obviously have a femme or female figure here in the front. The Lovers. So here we do see balance, which is good. I think this is a card in this particular deck. I think if we had a same-sex couple here, the balance, like where there is a need for balance in cards, would be a little bit off. I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. But I like that everything is here. I like the play on colors. It almost has this like reverse photograph, like a negative imagery to it. Not negative as in not, how do I explain what I'm trying to say? Like an actual film negative. That's what I was trying to say. The Chariot. I love motorcycles in the Chariot. I think that may be true in the This Might Hurt Tarot as well. Actually, let's check. I know I said I was going to do it at the end, but I'm really curious now because I do use this deck all the time. I know there's motorcycles in the Knights in This Might Hurt, but I'm curious about the Chariot. Let's see. There's the Chariot. Yep. So here is the Chariot in This Might Hurt. So very similar sort of badass vibes in both of these cards. This one pulls in the Sphinxes for the push-pull or the dark light balance there, versus This Might Hurt, which uses two motorcycles, one dark, one light. I adore this Strength card. It's so peaceful and harmonious and beautiful. Also love this Hermit, but this is one of the images that I feel like was shared really early on when this deck was still being made, and I love this image. I think it just really speaks to the way we feel when we need that alone time. She's like closing her laptop, and it makes me think of taking social media breaks and like just getting that space away from all the external noise. I think that's really poignant. Wheel of Fortune. Love that. Justice. Yes. The Hanged One versus the Hanged Man. Like that. I'm not attached how that the Hanged One or the Hanged Man is depicted or called in decks, but it works for this particular image really well. Death. Very Rider-Waite-Smith here. I have to say, I really enjoy again, that modern feel, but also like here we have even a death figure who, instead of in like armor, is in more modern clothing, like almost like motorcycle armor. So you still have that feel, but I just love the diversity throughout this deck. I think it's really, I find really relatable. This outfit, okay, so when I first saw this Temperance card, it must have been on Instagram or something. When I first saw it, what attracted me to this card was this sweater, because it reminds me of sweaters we legitimately were wearing in like the 80s and 90s. The Devil. The Tower. That's like really intense, right? Not only has she fallen from the tower, but she's gotten stabbed with one of the crystals or spikes from the ground here. Not fun. I enjoy too that the people in this card, like this is a great example. We have a star card and she doesn't look like height weight proportionate, as we used to say. She looks like she's got some curves to her, and I find that that's true in a lot of these cards where you feel just that hint of like, it's not so focused on body perfection, which I do enjoy. This is really cool and creepy to me, this like shadow that's kind of coming up out of the water, and it really speaks to the things that lurk when we ignore them, when we don't look at them. And again, here we have a very interesting similarity with This Might Hurt, in the sense that in the Moon card in This Might Hurt, we also have two figures in masks, one dog and one wolf mask. So we see a lot, I think, here of similar feel. And again, this is one of the reasons why I had initially anti-hauled, because I had this and I didn't feel like I needed both. I don't know if that will change. We'll see. The Sun card. Love this. It's funny to me that we have this really, and I don't know, maybe I was one of them. I probably have been one of them in the past, where it's like no naked baby in the Sun card. And yet that nakedness or that purity speaks to me of like letting your guard down, of like authenticity. And sometimes we miss that when we are so avoidant of that particular imagery, I think. But here it's executed really well, because while there's no nudity here for the child, there is this white dress, which still speaks to that sort of purity. And this is a very Rider-Waite-Smith looking sun, which I also like. Yeah, there we go. We have a bigger body there. That's kind of fun. And we have some different shapes. We have somebody pretty slender, somebody really curvy. So I like that. I like seeing that sort of bodies together and having there be some diversity. That's really cool in the Judgment card. I enjoy that. And the World card. Woo! Okay, so we're into the wands. Here's a little city in the background here. Love the stiletto nails on the hand. The Two of Wands. Is she holding a phone? It looks like she's holding a smartphone as she's considering or planning. You almost get the idea that she could be checking her calendar. Very modern day, real world kind of moment. Yes. Again, I get excited when I see curvy bodies, because of course I have a bigger body. So I get excited when I see bigger bodied people in tarot. And I know that's my own personal slant or my own personal bias. Everybody has their own things they really want to see to feel represented or related, or to feel a deck is relatable. So I really enjoy that in the Three of Wands. The Four of Wands, I like that we have what looks to me to possibly be a same-sex couple, or potentially be a girl and a boy. You could have like some gender non-binary people here that are just celebrating their milestone, their relationship. The Five of Wands. This is really interesting to me, and I literally, when I took a quick glance through these cards initially, I was really taken aback, because at the time that I'm filming this, and I don't know for sure when this video is going up, but probably relatively soon here, we are all wearing, I shouldn't say we are, as a society, we are working towards adopting a mask wearing strategy towards combating this global crisis that we've been facing. And I can't seem to see past the masks on the faces of the characters in these cards. Like, two of them have them. And I don't know if they're meant to be that kind of mask or not. In fact, they may be meant to be something else entirely. That's what I see, and I can't unsee it. And because we have some wearing and some not wearing, it's just giving me this very like gut reaction to what is happening in the world right now. And I don't know if that will ever shift for me in this image, because it seems so blatantly obvious to me that that's what's being shown. And yet I'm quite positive, actually. Like, when was this deck produced? I know it came out, it hasn't been out for that long, but I'm pretty sure this came out before all of that. Yeah, it's copyright 2019, and I want to say it was actually earlier last year, but again, I don't see that would be intended in the artwork. It would have been too long ago, so that's just very startling to me to see. The Six of Wands. Love how cocky, confident in all the good ways that this character on this card is. I love that. Same here. I love this, the determination and the sass. I love the boots on this girl. Digging it for sure. The Eight of Wands with the motorcycle speeding along the road and the wands in the sky really captures the meaning of this card in a really clever way. The Nine of Wands. And the Ten of Wands. And now we're into the court cards. I'm just going to move my pile so it doesn't get too unwieldy. So Page of Wands here. Knight of Wands. Loving the facial expressions on the horse and the human in this picture and the way that they kind of correlate to one another. The Queen of Wands. Interesting to me because in the Rider-Waite-Smith and in many classic decks, the Queen of Wands' legs are not crossed. But you don't seem to lose that sense of like, I am who I am, take it or leave it in this card, even in spite of the shift in body language. And there's a certain like, dare you to challenge me energy coming through in this image. And we have this, looks like a peekaboo cutaway in her sweater and a little bit of a midriff showing. So we still get that sort of sexuality that comes through in this card. And I think a really effective way. Love this. I love this. And I'm really appreciating the cat as well. And the sunflower. I feel like all the stuff that we're used to seeing here is like right there in front of us. I love that. I love that. And if you look a little closer even at her skin, it looks like she has that vitiligo skin pigmentation thing that I always get the name wrong. I may have not even pronounced it right, but I just think that's really well done. King of Wands. Okay, I love this. We have sort of a masculine presenting female here. Somebody who could be gender non-binary or could be butch or could be just more masculine in their representation of their gender. I love that. I really appreciate that card. And this is actually extra kind of fun for me because I often associate my wife Peggy, who is very much a butch identified masculine energied female woman, and I like that I often see her as the King of Wands. That's one of the cards that I associate with her, so seeing this has a personal association for me that super works. I don't know how everybody else will feel, but this just like, it's like, yes, I want to see that. Now if only it was actually Peggy in that card, that'd make it better. Ace of Cups, love that. Two of Cups. Where's the bottoms of my cards here? Okay, let's put these over here. Three of Cups. Yes, I really enjoy when in a Three of Cups card, all three figures look quite different. To me, that just shows the harmony of everybody bringing something unique to the table and how that can make really beautiful cooperation and communication and friendship and growth. I just love that. Four of Cups. I love that her sweater says over it and her phone is down and you can tell she's like had enough. Really interesting. The Five of Cups, very classic Rider-Waite here, with the addition of obviously some more modern elements, but it's very similar to the Rider-Waite-Smith. The Six of Cups. I feel like this has more of an age disparity between the two characters on the card than I'm used to seeing, but it totally works. You still get that sense of siblinghood or childhood here. The Seven of Cups. Ooh, interesting that there's a tornado in one of the cups. There's a little shift to the things we're used to seeing in the cards, which is really interesting. I also like that she has a pointed hat. Which is actually interesting now that I think about it. While this is called the Modern Witch Tarot, you don't see a lot of that sort of traditional witch imagery, like that stereotypical, like we would see, say, in the Everyday Witch Tarot. Eight of Cups totally works. The Nine of Cups. I do wish in this card that her arms were uncrossed, because in the Nine of Cups, the body language is usually one of being really satisfied and having everything that you could possibly want, like having that sort of emotional fulfillment. And I feel like the body language here feels almost like, I want to say either entitled feeling or like, it just takes it that edge past that openness that I like to see in the Nine of Cups, or that gratitude I like to see. It has a different feel. It definitely still works for me. And there's an aspect you can work with here too about recognizing that you deserve to feel this way, that you deserve to have all of these things in your court, to have things going well for you emotionally. So there's that, but I feel like it's a little sassier than I prefer in my Nine of Cups. That said, her face is actually very content. So I'm really reacting really to this body language of the arms crossed and the legs crossed. And I don't normally react to body language, but this is a card that I tend to have a lot of opinions about, and I can be incredibly picky about this card. So that's definitely me. The Ten of Cups. Love that. I love this page so much. This is a card I identify with. I love the lotuses on her sleeve. To me, that really speaks of like heart on your sleeve kind of thing. It's interesting to me that the water is calm in the background, because I feel like I remember usually seeing that sort of play backdrop look where the waves are going and you have like the ships on the rocky waves, because of course our pages in each court tend to be a little bit less evolved, I guess you could say, or a little bit more immature in their suit. And so I feel like there's not enough tumultuousness in the emotions of the water, water representing our emotions. I'm used to seeing a little bit more there. So that's one thing, but I really love the way she's dressed. I love the way that she looks, and her posture and everything just screams Page of Cups to me. Knight of Cups, love it. Queen of Cups, I love how her gown is so watery looking. So pretty. The mermaid on her throne, and that sort of scalloped shell-like back to the throne as well. And then our King of Cups. He looks so approachable to me, and this is definitely this reads male to me. Doesn't mean it is. Again, could be gender non-binary, could be just a very masculine presenting sort of female. This could be representing somebody with a more trans identity, but they feel very male to me, and they feel very approachable and kind, and that's something I do look for in a King of Cups card. Ace of Swords, love it. Two of Swords, yay, we got a redhead. I'm sure there was others. That one just stands out to me for some reason. Ooh, this is interesting, the Three of Swords. This almost speaks of like, I'm getting like this feeling of like purity versus toxicity here. Like this sword in the center feels like it got wrapped up in the toxicity of these other two, which is interesting. Intuitively, I feel like there's some things you could chew on here for sure. The Four of Swords. And this is interesting because it looks a little bit less peaceful, like necessary rest and weariness, emotional weariness or mental weariness. Interesting. The Five of Swords. The Six. Yes. The Seven. The Eight. The Nine. Love that. I love this 10, and I'm obviously not the only one because there's an extra card on the back that plays with this image, but I think this is so apt for the 10 of Swords. Are you distracting yourself from all the things that are going wrong? Are you actually addressing it? Or are you just convincing yourself everything's fine? Again, I get some of that from the extra card, which I'll share when we get there. Page of Swords. Knight of Swords. The Queen of Swords. Love those boots. King of Swords. We do have more gender ambiguity in the Kings, at least from what I can recall. And now we're into the Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles. Love the 3. That's so great. The 4. The 5. The 6. Oh, I really enjoy this card. And this is what I meant. Okay, so when I've done other walkthroughs, I've talked about how I like to see some ambiguity where you can't quite tell who's the giver and who's the receiver. At first glance, this does look like this woman is gifting these two characters gifts, but you could also see it as they've just given her 2 gifts and she's deciding which to open first. And maybe that's a stretch because of the physical posturing. It looks like she's the giver, and that is traditional Rider-Waite-Smith for sure. But I like that I could look at it a different way. I feel like this gives me that option to look at it a different way. Sometimes what you see is somebody who's very wealthy looking and 2 people that look very poor. These people all look like they're of similar socioeconomic status. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're not. But I could tell myself that if I wanted to read it in that way, which I appreciate. 7 of Pentacles. Love this. Just tending to projects, seeing how they're going to turn out. 8 of Pentacles. I love the digital drawing happening here. That's really cool. The 9 of Pentacles. And I like that she's still tending the garden here. I really, really enjoy that. The 10 of Pentacles. We have generations. I love that we have like a walking stick here. It looks like this person may be vision impaired. Page of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles. Queen of Pentacles. And King of Pentacles. This one also looks like a boy to me. So that's good that there is some male or masculine energy coming through on this deck for sure. It is very much dominated by that feminine energy. And here we have the Everything is Fine card, which is a play on the 10 of Swords. We can also see it on the cover of the little white book, or the little book here. And then finally, there is a card that says, you are a badass being full of life, love, and possibilities. Through this deck, may you find a path to your best self. And I love that. So there's a few things I would like to talk about, especially when we're talking about comparing them to another deck. But again, I'm going to play with the shuffle here and show you how it shuffles. For those of you who enjoy a riffle, if you have smaller hands or you have difficulty with stiffer decks, this one is going to be a bit of a challenge, but I feel like it will will hand over hand really well, but I'll show you that. I have strong hands. Ooh, it is really stiff. And I do consider myself somebody who has stronger hands and bigger hands. So it is a little bit stiff. I don't know if it'll break in, but those first few cards are hard to get down in a riffle. Let's try again here. I feel like it would break in, but maybe not. Let me know down below. Do you have this deck? Did it break in? That's a little bit rough to shuffle. But I really enjoy the feel, even with the gloss, funny enough. I feel like they slide over each other really, really well. So that's this way of hand over hand shuffling. And then we've also got this direction, which of course is really nice and smooth. I love the white borders. I don't know why. Sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. But I definitely find that on more classic looking Rider-Waite-Smith clone decks, I really don't mind the white borders around the cards, on the fronts and the backs. But I really like that. I think that's super fun. And I like that we, of course, have Modern Witch, and that is a reversible image, and it would still be Modern Witch, which is really cool with the M and the W. So that's super fun. Speaking of which way is up? Okay, there we go. I don't think I would work with reversals in this particular deck. It's just been something I've been playing with, depending on the deck. But yeah, it is a little bit of a beastie to shuffle. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't know if they have plans to release this in a different kind of cardstock in the future, but that is something to be aware of. So let's take a look at the guidebook, and then we'll do a little bit of a side-by-side flip with some of the This Might Hurt cards to see what we think. So here is our guidebook, and oh, I love that she's in the cover there. So we have a foreword, an introduction, majors, minors, reading the tarot, and spreads, as well as extra cards. So there's the foreword and the introduction by Lisa Sturl, the artist. A little bit on the major arcana here. And then it looks like we have a small black and white or grayscale thumbnail for every major arcana card, followed by a description. Let's see what it says about the Hierophant card, because that was one that I noticed, right? As students, we learn from the past and from others. It is the Hierophant that calls to unlock our psyche and hidden potential through diligent study. She is wise in her guidance, helping us discover new things we could not have found alone. As students and disciples, we kneel at her feet, listening to her stories and lessons, and if we do so, we may be able to find the lock that fits the keys crossed at her feet. Look to the past, read books, find a community of both differing worldviews and familiar ones. Find the passion within you and the hunger to know more. Nothing is created in a void, and you can enrich yourself by finding communities or collectives that help to structure your study. Learning new things can open your mind to new pathways and possibilities. So that's really beautiful. And then for the minor arcana, let's just see. We have some smaller bits without thumbnails. Is that the right term? Thumbnails? Mini images? Yeah, thumbnails. So a little bit about each suit, and then of course we have a small synopsis. So if we let's just grab the first minor arcana we see here. So major, well, that's a court card. Let's actually read one of those too. And we have the 10 of Pentacles. So let's read the 10 of Pentacles and the 9 of Cups. So Pentacles, Cups, Swords, Pentacles. Okay. So the 10 of Pentacles, which looks like that, says, Everything in your life is coming together magically. No more stress-filled nights worrying about money or rent or your job. You've done the work required to create some stability. Your home is full of love, satisfaction, and comforts. There's no need to do anything drastic or radical. Believe it or not, you've found some peace. Allow yourself to welcome it in. So that's really good. And let's see what the Knight of Cups has to say. So that's a court card. Did I miss the cups? I must have. Swords. Cups. The Knight is confident, charming, and wonderful to be around. They instantly draw you in, but be aware that they're not focused on you. They're focused entirely on their cup and are constantly looking for those brand new feelings of love and passion. This is a relationship that won't last for long, as much as you'd like it to. If the Knight is you, you've been chasing feelings a little too much and need to take the time to nurture your existing friendships and relationships. I don't think that's an inaccurate way to read the Knight of Cups, although I do feel like it runs a little more shadowy. That Knight of Cups isn't always I think, in my own opinion, an indication that a relationship won't last. I think, though, that we do have a lot of flighty energy, a lot of like loving to be in love kind of energy with that character. But I think there's more dynamics than that. And that actually made me realize that there are no reversed meanings or keywords that I can see in these cards. Are there in the majors? No reversals at all in the little white book. So if that is a factor for you, you should be aware of that. All right. Another quick little shuffle, and let's just do a little side by side with This Might Hurt, so you can kind of see how the imagery compares, because they are, I would say, different. Oh, and also thickness wise of the deck, if you're familiar with This Might Hurt, which is an indie deck, you can see the Modern Witch is quite a bit thicker, so it is quite a stiff cardstock, so that is something to be aware of. Let me get us zoomed in here. And we'll just flip through some cards just so you can kind of get a feel. They're obviously not in order, so this is just a more general art comparison than anything. So I feel like the Modern Witch has more of the kind of art style that we're familiar with in Rider-Waite-Smith classical decks. So it has more of that classical art style, it feels like. Classical art style is not quite the right term, but like it reminds me of the same art style that was used in the Rider-Waite-Smith original decks, like in Pixie's artwork. Whereas in This Might Hurt, it's a much more, there's a lot more depth and shading and light in the imagery. Really interesting. And I really feel like these are decks that, do you need both? Not necessarily. However, one feels they both feel very different from each other. I feel like This Might Hurt has a looser, more fluid energy, and I feel like Modern Witch has a much more like dynamically empowering, rebellious kind of energy. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I definitely feel like I would reach for them for different reasons. And I don't ultimately know if the Modern Witch has a permanent place in my collection or not, but I want to work with it and see what I think of it in practice. As I said, I've tended to not quite reach for decks that don't feel like they have more gender balance or identity balance throughout, so it'll be interesting to see. Unless I'm reaching for them, again, as I said, for like a more personally empowering reading for just me, or maybe for somebody who's looking for that really like female or feminine power kind of energy. Yeah, very different. And it's funny how I had them so similar in my head, but they really are very, very different decks. Very different in art style, very different even in production quality and cardstock. It feels different. Both feel very high quality, so I will definitely give them that. Let's pull out. Ultimately, I really do like the Modern Witch a lot more than I thought I would, to be completely frank. And I'm pleased that they sent it to me to take a look at. And it really says a lot about them that they were willing to do that in spite of the fact that I had anti-hauled it previously. So kudos to you guys. I'm really enjoying I can't say enjoying the quality. In spite of the fact that they do feel stiff, this is a deck that will last forever. I feel like you would not have issues with this deck, like warping or creasing, and with the gloss I would be pretty confident taking this deck out and using it on the go. While it's not, I wouldn't say this deck is like waterproof or plastic or anything like that. It's not that sturdy, but it's sturdy enough that I wouldn't worry if like I spilled something on it. That sounds terrible, but I hope you know what I mean. I would worry less about this cardstock. It feels sturdy. it doesn't feel fragile in any way, shape, or form. I did, however, decide that I wasn't going to keep it in its box while I'm working with it. I am going to put it in a Peggy bag. Shouldn't be a big surprise. So I grabbed one of Peggy's standard divider bags so that I can put the book on one side and the deck on the other. And I think that's going to work better for me than the box with the slide out bottom. So that is how I'm going to be keeping it. I think that's going to work out really well. And you guys know I hang my decks on my wall anyway. I think that's a fun pattern match to the deck. So pleased about that. I will definitely keep you guys posted if and when I eventually work with this for an entire week as my primary deck. And that will give me a lot more of a feel for what I think of how it reads and how it's going to operate within my collection. All that kind of stuff. Thank you again so much to the wonderful folks over at Liminal 11 for sending me this deck. I think it is beautiful, and I would be super curious to hear what you guys think of it who are watching this video, so definitely let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's fan out the cards. This is going to make such a good fan, too. Why did I put it away? What's wrong with me? All right. I have to do my fan. It's like a thing. It's like a thing. And you guys know me. Once I have like a ritual, I'm going to do it that way. It's just what I like to do. Okay, that's one thing. You know, you can't fault a good glossy cardstock for when it makes such a beautiful, beautiful fan. Love it. It's so satisfying when it's like that slick. And the book is so cute. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining me for this walkthrough. Please do like this video if you enjoyed this little trip through the Modern Witch Tarot by Lisa Sturl. Definitely subscribe if you're new here. Click the little bell to be notified of all my future videos and my live streams. And remember, if you want to book a reading, you can do that over at supportivetarot.com. Thank you so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys.